You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? Caitlin Clark snubbed again. Snubbed again. That's right. In Iowa. Caitlin Clark has been snubbed again. ESPN top five. Let's get into it. Didn't expect it, but it happened. Caitlin Clark's been snubbed again. Didn't expect it, but ESPN has a mind of its own of how they look at who's who's good, who's not, and apparently the all-time NCAA leading scorer of all the women who have ever played the game is not good enough, and ESPN has a mind of its own. They do things with an intention of starting some sort of argument, or I'm not sure what you want to call it, but ESPN has its way of covering the game. And when you look at it from a standpoint of Caitlin Clark, and it just always is never going to come out right? Because Caitlin gets snubbed again, right? Now, this snubbing's a little bit different because they moved it over to winning NCAA championships. But that argument would mean more in the WNBA than it does in the NCAA because you're playing for a team, obviously, she's playing for Iowa. And if there's anything, Caitlin Clark is the all-time leading scorer. Okay, but who did they put on the list? It's Brianna Stewart, Candace Parker, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, Cheryl Miller, right? All great credibility players, and Brianna Stewart's the only active player that's playing in the game today, and that's how much respect they have currently for Brianna Stewart. But I don't know how you leave Caitlin off. I don't even know how you leave Brittany Griner off. They're talking about Kansas Lynette Woodard. They're talking about Holzclaw. So you've got some players that have been left off of this list. But here's what I'm going to tell you: you have no right to leave Caitlin off this list, and here's the reason why: is Caitlin and Lisa Bluter did something that nobody else would have ever thought could be done. Nobody gave them any opportunity, any chance. They earned it. They did it. And she ended up as the NCAA all-time leading scorer. Now, what does that mean? That means people got to get out of their feelings, right? You got to get out of your feelings and accept the fact that Caitlin is the all-time leading scorer, and how is the all-time NCAA leading scorer doesn't make the all-time players list. And you're talking about championships. Well, who did all of those teams that you see? Here's what really gets me, and it really, I wouldn't say it burns my chap, but it burns me in a different way when it comes to Caitlin, right? Because all those other players sat there and played with McDonald's All-American. They all played with McDonald's All Americans. Okay, now Kate Clark didn't play with a McDonald's All American, and that's a huge difference. So UConn every year McDonald's All Americans, right? No doubt about it. You get over there, Tennessee, McDonald's All Americans. They all had McDonald's All Americans, the top players in the game, and it just rotated, and it rotated itself around. But Caitlin Clark, the all-time NCAA leading scorer, you are not going to convince me that Caitlin Clark is not the best player that ever played the game in college basketball. That's going to be extremely hard to do. And the reason it's going to be so hard is because Caitlin is that good. And when you look at a player that can take the court and play the game the way that Caitlin does, and the way she did it in college, my. I mean, that right there speaks for itself because anytime a player comes in there, they're local, their hometown, they sacrifice, could have went somewhere else, but stayed. But no one in their right mind would have believed that Caitlin Clark would be the NCAA all-time scorer, but she is, right? So that trumps everybody in the NBA. That trumps everybody that's ever played in the NBA. That you didn't score more points than Caitlin. Now you can't sit there and say because Iowa didn't have McDonald's All-American that Caitlin's not a top five NCAA player. And I just call it like I see it. I know it's not meant for everybody to agree, but sometimes, folks, you just got to let it be. And Caden Clark is in the top five in the NCAA, no doubt about it. And she's leading, right? You're leading the entire pack. So when you're leading the pack, Money Mike's not going to get in here and mislead you. The NCAA all-time leading scorer, Caitlin Clark, is definitely a top 5 NCAA all-time player. She's done what nobody else has done, and you can never take that away from Caitlin. Caitlin's been Caitlin, but snubbing again. And it's coming rightfully so from ESPN. And here's what I know about ESPN, they're consistent. Ain't no doubt about it. ESPN is 100% consistent. If they're going to get on there and there's something to talk about Caitlin Clark, I guarantee you, even though Stephen A. Smith wanted to fire a shot across the bow talking about coverage, Juju, but you can't take this. And the $100 million man, y'all got to get it together because y'all missing every time you go to the board. Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast, ESPN. The media, we're getting it done, but Caitlin Clark snubbed again. My. We'll put it that way, and the only way. All things are possible to those who believe Caitlin Clark is an all-time NCAA player. She would be in the top 3, right? Be on the Mount Rushmore of college basketball. No one's ever done what she's done, and I can put a stamp on that. Seen it with my own eyes. All things are possible to those who believe. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We'll see you soon. All things are possible to those who believe.